Hey, what's going on, everybody? NobodyFamous here, back with another Ableton Beatdown video. Shout out to MachineMasters.com for all the dope resources that they're posting every week. Be sure to join the community, follow them online, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that. In this episode, I'm going to go over how I made a remix for Danny Brown's Die Like a Rock Star. It's on top of a Millie Jackson sample. And basically, I kind of went for like that Mad Lib RZA vibe where I didn't really add a lot of drums over the top, and I just kind of used the drums that are already in the sample because they're kind of complex anyway, and kind of went for that like lo-fi, grimy, boom bap, hip hop sound and whatnot. So I give you a little preview of what it sounds like, and then we will go from there.
Brown bless the mic like Kazantai. Butts about the size of a banzai. Kick it like Muay Thai. Flow like sci-fi in high def. I'm righteous and still busting that up on a bitch chest. The verbal folklore been explored and employed by none other than them foes with the gold. Okay.
So, the first thing I did was I was going through the sample, and I'll show you how I chopped it up and everything. And I just listened to different parts that I liked, and I added warp markers to it. So you see right here, this is the first part, and this is what it sounds like. So basically on every hit that I wanted to assign to a pad, I added a warp marker on there. And then I did the same thing for this section. And then finally for this section. Okay, so those are the three different parts. I added warp marks, like I said, on every hit. You can just, if you zoom in, you can see like this is the bar, then that's the 2 count, the 3 count, the 4 count after the beginning of the bar. Then that's like, you know, snare, kick, snare, and whatnot. And I just added a warp marker on that. So then what I did, and you can find this preset if you just Google or YouTube MPC slicing preset for Ableton. A video will come up. It's about a 5-minute video. A guy does a really good job of explaining how to like set up this slicing preset. So I already had this set up from like a few years back, and I just selected it and I did it to warp marker, and it's going to give me 31 slices. So I clicked OK, and after I clicked OK, it basically gave me this. And this assigns to my pad, so arm that track. So those are all my different sections, and what I did was actually, this is what it sounds like at 0. And I pitched it up. So right here on the transpose, I took it 3 steps up. And then after I played around with it, figured out what I wanted, I had 4 different sections actually. So what I'll do is I'll show you what these sound like. So this is my first section. And then this section is also the same, but what I added was just that little drum fill that's going to go into my next section. So it sounds like this at the end. All right, and then I have this kind of build up. And then the hook section. Okay, so also another note that you want to keep in mind when you're remixing, and Ableton makes it very convenient. I had the original song pulled up before I even started making the beat. I pressed play and I just tapped to the beat, like the 1, 2, 3, 4, and it basically came out. It was like, you know, hovering around 85. So I just made it 85, and as you know, Ableton will adjust everything and stretch everything out, time stretching and things like that. So I just stuck to 85, and I made my beat at that tempo. So once I did that, I went to the beat. I went to the acapella, and I listened to the original again, and I saw where he came in on the beat. So he came in after the first bar hit, basically right at the 2 count. So if I play this together.
Brown bless the mic like Kazantai. Buds about the size of a banzai. Kick it like Muay Thai. Blow like sci-fi.
And it went pretty well. So what I would do is, I went in and I basically control and clicked on the Mac, and I did it straight. So what it would do, sometimes you got to experiment with remixes and acapellas and stuff, because sometimes they drag, especially like I think this acapella actually came from a vinyl, so sometimes the vinyl will like kind of fluctuate in tempo and whatnot. So you can start with doing it straight, and then sometimes if it gets a little off, you just got to listen. And if you see something, like as you hear it listening and you hear something, you might need to add a warp marker and move something back, and you can zoom in even a little more and do it like right on the grid and whatnot. So you gotta have to do this a couple times. Just listen and kind of go through, and you can see I didn't really add that many warp markers, maybe 10 or so, 10 or 12, but I just kind of went through and did that. So the next thing after I had my sample chops and my acapella, I added a snare on top. So I have this drum loop. I didn't add much to it. I didn't even add any effects to it. I have it send it to some reverbs on certain parts of the song. But basically, what I did was in my envelope, I believe, mixer and the speaker on, I only have just that snare hit. So like if I turn this on all the way, you hear like it's a whole drum loop. And I like the fatness of that snare and kind of like the acapella vibe of it. So it just sounded really good layered over that sample. So I basically turned off the sample except for on those snare hits. So it sounds like this. Oops. Sorry. Actually, I gotta mute all these. So that was just the basics of what I had in my clip view. So then what I did, I started with I want to say this sample right here in the acapella. So when it started off, it started like this.
Brown bless the mic like Kazantai. Buds about the size of a banzai. Kick it like Muay Thai. Blow like sci-fi in high def. I'm righteous and still busting that up on a bitch chest. The verbal folklore been explored and employed by none other than them foes with the gold.
Okay, so I went through, I was basically alternating between these 4 different clips with the sample chops as the acapella played and as that snare played. So then once I did that, it looked like this in my arrangement view. So then I started working out of my arrangement view and adding different things and effects and sends to reverbs and everything like that. Now, the sample wasn't as beefy as this sounds on the low end. So what I did was I created a return track, and I added a few plugins. I added the 1-knob pressure. I added the 1-knob fattener, and this is all, I put it in mono. And then I added this Magma with the Devil's Touch on there. It's just another multi-band like vacuum compressor that I really like. So I added those 3 on there. And that's what it sounds like. It's more low end on there. And then what I did was you can do pre or post. I added it, I changed it to pre, and then I sent this 100 all the way up, basically set it to 0 from the sample chop, running it through this. So that was that. And then the acapellas on there, I added some processing on the acapella. So I have like this warm vox antares, like a tube saturator, because I want to kind of be a little bit grimier. Ultra grain, which I'll show you what I did with that in a second, a compressor, a filter delay, and then a V-comp, which is a waves plugin. But you can mix it any way you want to mix it as far as vocals go. You can see my automation automatically played out on for the speaker on and off on that snare. And then what I did was I added different effects on different parts. So on the sample, let's see here. I have this fade to gray right here on this part. So by itself, I did a couple things. I reversed it, and you're going to see right here on this reverse, it's going to cut on, and then I added a filter delay.
A bitch at my target when I...
Oops, need to... All right, so basically the fade to gray is going on, and I have it cut off really quick at the end of that. And then with this preset, it just turned the reverse all the way up on this section. So basically every single chop that's playing is going to play it backwards. So as that's playing, I also have on the acapella this ultra grain effect. So I kind of just did some random stuff on there, and I just like the way the effect sounds. And it sounds like this together.
Loud. From smoke something with your man, bitch.
Okay, and then you hear that snare. So on that snare, right here on this reverb send, I turned it all the way up to 0. So like as that beat comes back in,
from smoke something with your man, bitch,
it sends the snare to a bunch of reverb. So I did that. I did it also on this part. I kind of like doing this little drop right here, and I'll show you what this sounds like, where I just cut a bell tree just for that first count, and then it comes in with the snare. So I cut everything out.
And a cold mouth. River Phoenix 93 VIP with some drugged up porn.
And I have this going from left to right, and I have it going to some reverb and delay. So basically I just cut off, I did I cut the sample off using the speaker on just for that first count.
I like Jimi Hendrix and Anna Nicole Mouth. River Phoenix 93 VIP with some drugged up.
And then one other thing I like to do is an auto filter. So just when you're sampling, a lot of times you can cut it, just cut out all that high end. You can do it with an EQ as well, and just to add a little flavor to it. So as it comes out of this hook, I just wanted to cut out all of this high end and just kind of leave that low end and low mid range in there.
Bitch, I wanna party like Chris Farley. Shot a Hennessy, spiked it with some Molly. Tell mommy I'm sorry, God bless my soul. But life was so sublime, going out like Brad Noor. I got that Kurt Cole.
So you can see it's turned on right there, and this is what I'm cutting out on there. And other things that I have on the sample, I have this compressor. I have the ratio set fairly high and basically coming in instantly on there, so it kind of pumps just a little bit. And then I added again this Devil's Touch vacuum compressor. I just really love the way it sounds. And then after that, a little reverse orchestra sound right here, reverse cymbal.
America, I'm living. And I'm a die.
And on the master track, I had this muted just as I did the tutorial, but I had this crackle in here, this vinyl simulator. I have the Magma on there again, and I have the L1 maximizer. So this one's pretty much straightforward. This is what it sounded like, and then this is how it sounds all together.
Tripping off the shit that had Brian Wilson flipping. Experiment so much, it's America I'm living. And I'm a die like the rock star. Die like the rock star. I'm a die like the rock star.
Yep, so that's pretty much it. So be sure, as I said before, if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on the YouTube channel or Twitter at NobodyFamous. And be sure to follow Maschine Masters, and shouts out to them for allowing me to do these videos. And stay tuned for the next episode. Peace.